everybody, it's Teresa. Welcome to my channel. I'm going to make a leather bracelet today using GemDuos down the center. I made that leather bracelet quite a few videos ago. It was like the first bead weaving video I ever did because a lady had seen one on my Facebook page where I used super duos, and she had asked me to do it. The video I did before, I just used round fire polish beads and seed beads because I thought it would be easier to start off with showing how to do it with round beads rather than the 2-hole beads. And I've never done it with GemDuos before. I've only ever done it with super duos, so I'm not sure I know what I'm doing. But I'm going to try and see how it works. I had another lady that had seen that on there too and had commented that she would also like to see me do it with the 2-hole beads. So I'm going to try that today. I've got my 8-pound fire line here in smoke. I've got this is 1.5 millimeter Exotica dark brown leather. I've got some 8/0 Duracoat galvanized champagne Miyuki seed beads. I've got my GS Hypo cement that I'm going to be using to put on my knots. I've got a little button here, a little shank button. I need to get some more of these buttons. I like them. They're so pretty. I've got a couple of size 11 tulip beading needles here. I'm not going to need to, but I always have an extra in case I drop one, can't find it. My GemDuos, I'm not sure. These say orange, dark red. And I don't have a color on these, so I don't know what color these are. They're green. This is going to be a very colorful bracelet. But I didn't want to do it all in one color. And I don't have a whole lot of GemDuos. And I do have some more, but they're really dark and really shiny, and I was afraid you wouldn't be able to see those. So I'm going to try to use these, and I don't know what we'll end up with at the end of it, but we'll see. I got these when I was subscribed to the Adornable Elements subscription box. I'm telling y'all, I have been subscribed to almost every bead box out there at some point. All I have for tools, I've got my scissors to cut my fire line and my leather, and then I use my chain nose pliers to flatten down the end of my thread so that I can get it through the needle, and that's all I'm going to be using as far as tools. So let me get some of this out of the way and I'll be back. Okay, I'm going to start out with I've got about a 26-inch piece of leather here. I'm going to go for like a 7.5-inch bracelet. And of course, the leather is going to be on each side. It's going to be doubled, so 7.5 times 2 is 15. And then I always do about 10 extra inches to allow for the knots I'm going to be tying. So that would be 25, and then I always cut off an extra inch just to be sure because I'm paranoid that I'm going to run out of leather. So I've got about 26 inches of my leather here. And I'm just going to put my button on. This is a little shank button here. So I'm just going to take one side of my leather, one piece of my leather, and go through my button. And then I'm going to find the center. Just going to put my ends together here. And bring my button down to the center of my leather, and that's got wrapped up in there and is trying to make a knot, so we'll do that over. Okay, now I'm going to find the center of find the ends of my leather and put them together. And bring my button to the center. And I'm just going to tie an overhand knot. You could do a barrel knot here if you want to. I'm not the best at making barrel knots, so I'm just going to do an overhand knot here. And I'm just going to guide my knot down. Try to keep my leather the same length on each side. And I'm just going to guide my knot down here. I don't want to get it real tight up against the button because I want the button to be able to move. So I think that's probably about a good spot there. So I'm going to just pull on both sides of the leather a little bit at a time to tighten up a knot. So that's what I've got. My little button's still able to move around there. So now I'm going to get my beads together and get started now that I've got my button on here. Okay, I've got some of my beads poured out here, and I have discovered through trial and error, I've been working on this for a while. I've switched out the 8/0s for 11/0s. Same color, they're just 11/0s because I decided that 11/0s look better in this. So I'm going to start out by, I've got my needle threaded, I've got a stop bead on it, and I've left about a 6 to 8 inch tail that I'm going to go back and sew in later. So in order to secure my thread to my leather, I'm going to do a little different than I did in that other video. The other video, I just tied it around the leather. This time I'm going to take my needle, I'm going to go up through the center of the leather, just to show you a different way of doing it in case you prefer this way. I'm going to go over the top piece of leather. I don't have any beads on yet, this is just thread. Now I'm going to go under the bottom piece of leather. I'm going to go over the top piece of leather. I'm just making figure eights around the leather. And like I said before in that other video, if you can use a loom, that would be probably very helpful in this kind of thing. I own every loom they have, and I have never been able to use one. I can't keep my thread tight enough, as tight as it needs to be when I use a loom. If you use a loom, your sides don't get all wavy, and I just have to try to keep the leather tamed as I go and keep the sides from getting wavy, because I have to have it in my hands in order to be able to have the right kind of tension that I need. So now I think this is on here tight enough that I can pull and it's not going to come through. So I'm going to start with my beads. I'm going to go up through under the bottom piece. I'm always going to be going under the bottom piece of leather and over the top piece of leather. That way I can stay consistent and I know that I'm doing it the right way. And I'm always going to put my beads on from the bottom. So I'm going to pick up an 11/0. I'm going to drop it down here to the end of my thread. I'm going to position it between my leather on its side. I'm going to go over the top piece of leather, back through the 11/0, hold on to it and pull my thread through. And since this is the first bead, I might do this for the first few rows. I'm going to go back through this again to reinforce it because it's the first one, and I might do it on the next one, so I'm not sure. Just depends on how loose it is. So I'm going to push my bead up here close to where I tied my thread on. Now I'm going to go pull tight so I don't have any thread showing, and I look like I have thread showing. There. Now I'm going to go back over the top piece of leather, back through the 11/0. I think I got it in there too tight. I can't get through that 11/0. Okay, there we go. Okay, now I'm going to put my next beads on. Now I'm always going to put my beads on from the bottom. So I'm going over and under the bottom piece of leather. And I'm going to pick up 2 of my 11/0s. I'm going to bring them to the bottom of my needle, or my thread. I'm going to lay them between my leather so that they're on their side. I'm going to go over the top piece of leather and back through the 2 11-ohs. Now I'm going to go over and under my bottom piece of leather, back through the 2 11-ohs. I'll push them up here next to my first 11-oh. Like that. Now I'm going to go under, I'm going to go over the top piece of leather, back through the 2 11-ohs. And if they come down, just push them back up there. And now I'm going to come over the bottom piece of leather and under and up between the leather. And now I'm going to pick up 3 11-ohs. And all I'm doing is just widening out my leather to accommodate for these GemDuos. So I'm going to put 3 11-ohs, lay them on their side there. I'll go over the top piece of leather, through the 3 11-ohs, under the bottom piece of leather, and these are on there good enough now that I'm not going to go through it again like I did these first two. So I'm just going to come under the bottom piece of leather, through the center of the leather. Now I'm going to pick up 4 11-ohs. Bring them to the bottom of my thread, lay them in between the leather there on their side, go over the top piece of leather, back through the 11-ohs, hold on to them, pull the thread through, now I'm going to start with my GemDuos. So I'm going over the bottom piece of leather, up through the middle of the leather. Now with the GemDuos, the top of them is puffed out and the bottom of them is flat. So if you want that puffed out part to be on top, you have to watch how you pick them up. Since I'm coming from the bottom and going up, I need to lay them out here with their puffed side up. So I'm laying them out there with their puffed side up. And in order to get them to lay the way I want them, the puffy side to be at the top, I need to pick them up from these bottom holes here. It's probably different if you're putting your beads on from the top, but since I'm putting my beads on from the bottom, I'm going to pick them up like that every time. So when I bring it down here to the bottom of my thread and lay it in between my leather, oh wait, I forgot. Forget I said all that. Yet. I'll say that again in a minute. Okay. I got my two GemDuos laying with the puffy side up. In order to get them to lay right, since I'm coming from the bottom, I'm going to pick them up from these holes. But for this first pair, and only for this first pair, I'm going to pick up an 11-oh and put it between them, because I have discovered, because I've been doing this for hours trying to figure out how this works, how to get this to work, that's going to hide the thread between those first two. I'm only going to do it for those first two, because I had a lot of threads showing there where I was just going straight through them. Okay, so now I've got them laid in there like that, puffy sides up. I'm going to go over my top piece of leather, under, and I'm going to back through all these beads again. I'm going to go back through the same hole of the GemDuo, the 11-0 in the same hole of the other GemDuo. Pull my thread through. Pull it tight. Push my GemDuos up there next to my seed beads. And that's what I've got. And that little 11-0 just hid that thread that was driving me crazy, because I kept seeing that thread in there and I couldn't bear it. So that's why that 11-0's in there. But that's the only place I'm gonna, at the end I'll do that when I end off. But so now I'm gonna come over the bottom, over the bottom piece of leather, up through the center, and I'm gonna go through the bottom hole of this GemDuo that I hadn't been through yet. And now I'm going to pick up 2 more GemDuos, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to lay them out here so that my little puffy side's up. And I'm going to pick them up from these holes down here. Now I'm not putting a seed bead between these. Now I'm going to go through this hole of this GemDuo. So I'm just putting these 2 GemDuos between the 2 I've already put on here. So I'll pull them through, and see that sits them in there like that. Now I'm going to go over the top of this piece of leather. I'm going to go back through the bottom hole of the previous pair of GemDuos. And if you're using a loom, you won't have to worry about your leather getting all caught up when you're doing this, but I just cannot use a loom. And now I'm going to go through, I'm coming out the bottom hole of this previous pair of GemDuos right here. I'm going to go through the top holes of the ones I just put on. And if you can't get through them both at the same time, you can go through them one at a time. It's no problem, doesn't matter. And my leather got caught around my thread again. My thread got caught around my leather again. Okay, there. Well, something happened wrong there because they fell off. Okay, let's do this again. All right. I'm coming out of the bottom of this GemDuo here. I'm going to pick up my 2 GemDuos and pick them up so that the puffy side will be laying up when I lay them out. And I'm going to go through the second hole that I haven't been through yet. Pull my thread through. And that's going to sit them in there like that. Now I'm going to go over the top of this leather, back through the bottom hole of the previous pair of GemDuos I put on. I'm going to go through the top holes of these new GemDuos I just put on. I'm going to go through the bottom hole of this previous row of GemDuo, the GemDuo in this previous row. Now I'm going to come over and under this bottom piece of leather through the hole of the GemDuo I hadn't been through yet. I'll push my beads up and arrange them and try to keep my leather from getting wavy, which you won't have to worry about so much if you can use a loom. Now I'm going to pick up 2 more GemDuos. I'm going to go through this hole. And I can't remember if I said, but when you're using 2-hole beads, it's a good idea to check your holes as you go, because sometimes the second holes can be clogged up with paint or just a factory defect, and it's rough when you get down to your next row and you can't get through that second hole because it's clogged up. So it's a good idea to check them as you go. So I'm coming out of this side of this GemDuo. I'm going to go in this GemDuo right here. Pull my thread through. Now I'm going to go over this top piece of my leather through the bottom hole of the GemDuo in the previous row. I'm going to go through the top holes of both of these that I just put on. And you don't have to do it all at once. If you can only get through one, just get through one and do it. Well, I knocked my tools over almost. Go through the top holes of both these that you just put on. Now I'm going to go through the bottom hole of this one that was in the previous row that I did. Make sure not to get tangled around my leather. I'm going to try to manipulate my leather here so it doesn't get wonky. It probably is going to, no matter how much manipulation I do, but okay, now I'm gonna I'm coming out of this GemDuo from the previous row. I'm going to go over my leather through this the second hole of this GemDuo that I just put on that I haven't been through yet. Now I'm going to start with my green. I'm going to pick up two GemDuos. I'm going to go through the bottom hole of this GemDuo, pull my thread through. That's going to set them in there like that. Now I'm going to go over the top of the leather, back through this orange GemDuo in the previous row, back through the top holes of these 2 green ones that I just now put on. Just do it one at a time if you have to. And back through the bottom hole of this orange GemDuo from the previous row. Try to straighten out my leather here. Now I'm going to go over the bottom piece of leather up through the bottom hole of this green one that I just now put on. I'm going to pick up 2 more of my green. I'm going to go through the second hole of this green one. And that sits them in there like that. Now I'm going to go over the top of this leather through the bottom of the green GemDuo in the previous row, through the top holes of these two that I just put on, and through the bottom hole of the GemDuo in the previous row. Now I'm going to take my needle, I'm going to go over my bottom leather, under and through the bottom hole, the hole I haven't been through yet in the green one. I'm going to pick up two more. I'm going to go through this second hole of this GemDuo that I haven't been through yet. I'm going to go over the top of this leather. I'm going to go through the bottom hole of the green GemDuo in the previous row. I'm going to go through the top holes of the two that I just put on. Go through the bottom hole of this green one here that I in the previous row. Now I'm going to go under my bottom piece of leather through this second hole of this GemDuo that I just put on in this row. And my leather's getting really wonky here. Try to straighten it up. Now I'm going to go back to my orange. So I'm going to pick up two orange. I'm going to go in this second hole of this green one. Pull my thread through. Now I'm going to go over my top leather through the bottom hole of this green GemDuo in the previous row. Through the top holes of the two I just put on. Through the bottom hole of this green GemDuo in the previous row. Now I'm going to go, I think my leather got caught around there. That came through wrong, my leather. Got caught around my leather. And it is still caught around my leather. Okay, there. Now, I'm going to go over and under my bottom piece of leather through the second hole of my orange one. Pick up two more orange ones. I go in the bottom hole of this orange one. I go over the top piece of leather, back through the bottom hole of the orange one in the previous row. Back through the top holes of the ones I just put on. And if I can manage it, back through the bottom hole of that orange one in the previous row. I'm going to straighten out my leather again here. Now I'm going to go over the bottom piece of leather and under, and through the second hole of this orange one that I just put on. And I'm going to do 2 more orange. Now I'm going to go through the bottom hole of this orange that I haven't been through yet. Now I'm going to go over this piece of leather, top piece of leather, through the bottom hole of the orange one in the previous row. Through the top hole of the 2 that I just put on. And through the bottom hole of this orange one up here in the previous row. And I got it wrapped around my leather again. Okay. Check everything, make sure my wet leather's not too awfully wonky. Now I'm going to go under this piece of leather, through the orange, the hole of the orange I haven't been through yet. And I'm going to put on I'm going to do 3 orange, 3 green, 3 orange, like that. So I'm going to start with my green again, and then I'll finish it off camera and leave y'all alone. So I'm going to pick up 2 green. I'm going to go through the bottom hole of this orange one that I haven't been through yet. I'm going to go over the top piece of leather, through the bottom hole of the orange one from the previous row. Through the top holes of the ones I just put on. Through the bottom hole of this orange one from the previous row. Then I'm going to go under this bottom piece of leather, up through the hole of the green one I haven't been through yet. And now I'm in position to put on my next 2 green. So I'm just going to do the rest of this off camera. I'm going to keep fiddling with my leather, try to keep it from getting too wavy. And then when I come back, we'll finish it off. Okay, I've got enough here, I think. By the time I taper back down with my 11/0s on this end and tie my knot and my loop and everything, I think I'll have the length that I'm going for. So I'm coming out this green bead here where I added these last 2 green beads. I'm coming out this green bead, and it's going to be different at this end because the beads are slanting different. When I put my 11/0 between them, they're slanting different at this end when I put my 11-0 between these two. You can do it like if you want to do several rows of GemDuos, and then you can put like a little 3 or 4 millimeter bead in between there, and then start your GemDuos again, and it will make them slant like where they're facing each other. But I didn't want to get into anything that complicated because it took me long enough to figure out how to do this. So I didn't want to confuse you all anymore. So I'm just going to pick up one of my 11-0s, and I'm going to put it between my green beads here. Okay, now I'm going to go around the top piece of leather, back through the hole of the green bead that I just came through, back through my 11-0, and back through this hole of this green bead. Now I'm going to go under my leather here. Now I'm going to pick up 4 of my 11-0s. I'm going to lay them in there on their side. If they will cooperate with me. Okay, I'm going to lay them in there on their side. I'm going to have to do something, change the camera here or something. Okay, I've got them laid in there on their side. I'm going to go over this top piece of leather. Come back through all 4 of the 11-0s. Hold on to them. And I'm just going to pull this tight so that it'll tighten up this end and start tapering down, and try to get my leather to where it's not all wavy and wonky and stuff. Now I'm going to go back under this piece of leather and back up through these 4, because I want to just reinforce this end part here, because I don't know, it's the end part. I just want to reinforce it. Now I'm going to go over the top piece of leather, back through the 4 11-0s. And I'm going to push them up there, close to the one that I put in the GemDuos, and this is just really getting wonky here. I really wish I could use a loom, but I have tried and tried, and I just cannot keep my thread tension tight enough. Okay, now I'm going to go under this bottom piece of leather, pick up 3 11-0s, going to lay them between my leather on their side. I'm going to go over the top piece of leather, back through the 3 11-0s, go under the bottom piece of leather, back through the 3 11-0s, back over the top piece of leather, back through the 3 11-0s. Now I'm going to go up and under my leather again here, pick up 2 11-0s, bring them to the end of my thread, lay them between the leather on their side, go over the top piece of leather, back through the 2 11-0s, under the bottom piece of leather, back through the 2 11-0s, back over the top piece of leather, back through the 2 11-0s. Now I'm going to go under my bottom piece of leather, pick up one 11/0, lay it between the leather on its side, go over the top piece of leather, through the 11/0, over the bottom piece of leather, through the 11/0, over the top piece of leather, through the 11/0. Now I'm going to try to straighten everything up again. Now that I've got all my beads on here. Now I'm going to sew back through here and tie a few half-hitch knots. And usually when I do this, I don't go around the leather. I just go up through the beads. So I'm going to go up through these two beads. I'm going to go under this thread bridge here. Go back up through my loop. Slowly bring my knot down. Now I'm going to go down through these 3 beads. Grab a thread bridge here. Go through my loop. Bring my knot down. I'm going to go up through these 4 beads here. Grab the thread bridge here. Go through my loop. Bring my knot down. And now I'm going to go through a few beads to get away from my knot. And I think I'll go through these and kind of tighten this up, this part down here up a little bit. I'll pop down here and go through. No, I don't want to do that. I'm afraid I'll be able to see too much thread if I do that. So I think that's good. I'm going to cut off my thread here. I'm going to go back here to the beginning where I left my stop bead, and I'm going to take this off and sew this in with making 3 half-hitch knots just like I did, and then I'll be back and we'll do the loop for the button to go through. Okay, so here's what I've got. Now I'm going to make my button for my loop for my button to go through. So first I'm just going to tie an overhand knot. And just guide it up here to where it's kind of at the end of my work. Just pull on each piece of leather until you get it good and tight. Again, if you have enough leather left and you want to do a barrel knot here, that would be pretty. I just am not real good at barrel knots. Okay, now I'm going to take my button and come up here and figure out where I need to tie my next knot. Probably about right here. I'm just going to tie another overhand knot. Got it down there. And before I tighten it up very much, I'm going to make sure my button will go through there. Yeah, I think that'll be alright. So I'll tighten it up. I'll take my pliers here and pull on the leather to tighten it up. Sure my button will go through there again. Might have got that a little bit loose, but see if I can tighten it down a little bit more. Yeah. I'm gonna try it. Yeah, that's better. Okay. Now I'm going to take my GS Hypo Cement, if I can find where I did with it. Oh, there it is. It's just right in front of me is all. I'm going to just put a little bit of GS Hypo Cement on my knots. Get that's dried on the end of it off. There we go. Yeah. Let's see if I can get this closed up. Okay. Now I'm just going to cut the ends of my leather off. I didn't have too much leather. Okay. Now I'm going to get some of my beads cleaned up here and I'll be back. Okay, so there it is, my first ever leather wrap bracelet with GemDuos. I thought if I propped it up on this little tray here, y'all might be able to see it better. I hope you all have enjoyed this video. As always, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate those of you who have subscribed to my channel and watched my videos and liked and commented on my videos. I have a website where I sell my jewelry. It's Teresa's Handmade Jewelry, and I'll put a link to it in the description box below in case you're interested, along with a link to my Facebook and Instagram and my email. If you haven't, I'd really love it if you'd subscribe and hit the notification bell so you're notified when I upload a new video. So until next time, I hope you all have a great day. Take care.